华语电视 SinoTV 的观众朋友们，大家好，我是辣明。
Hi, I'm Supervisor Kathryn Barger with Los Angeles County.
今天我们 SinoTV 有幸邀请到的是我们 Supervisor Kathryn Barger， 他是大洛杉矶县代表第5选区的这个郡长，也是大洛杉矶县最大的选区，包括2785平方英里、20个城市以及83个城镇。他呢，就是相当于这83个城镇的市长一样。这个区域当然也包括我们的圣盖博谷，整个这个大区域。那这个他本人呢，也是土生土长的第5选区的居民。So being a supervisor for such huge area, you must be facing many challenges. So, Supervisor Barger,how do you working on several priorities? That's a big issues for each priorities, right? And for public safety and justice, what do you think about the smash and grab robberies?
Well, first of all, I've said this all along. Quality of life issues impact my constituents in a way that requires immediate work. And that is with public safety, with our law enforcement partners, whether it be the sheriff or local law enforcement, providing them with the resources to protect our communities, which I think is important. I know it's important. And when you talk about public safety, you talk about even our education system. Our kids need to feel safe walking to school and being in school. So it's collaborating and working with first responders to make sure that we are providing quality of life. This is a priority, but it's easy for me to make that a priority because I value that in my own community. And so each and every day, it's working, collaborating with our sheriff, Sheriff Luna, who is someone who I value both as a partner but also as a supporter. Because at the end of the day, our residents, everybody, even the people watching today, want to feel safe in their communities. Unfortunately, right now they don't. When you go to the mall, or you go to a business and you're in fear that people are going to come in and ransack and steal, that is not quality of life. So working cooperatively with our law enforcement partners and the sheriff and LAPD, we put together a task force. And we're going to hold these individuals accountable. And these are not just random individuals who are poor and want to steal to help themselves. These are syndicated firms. These are gangs that are going in and doing these smash and grabs and terrorizing our communities. And not only do they have to be arrested, but they need to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law, which means that the district attorney needs to prosecute and send a message that this is not going to be tolerated, especially when gangs are at the center of what is going on.
I see. So yourself, you also allocated $1 million for the sheriff classes, right?
I did. I felt that it was important in my district in particular to make sure that especially during the holidays that people wanted to go out and shop and not be in fear of being robbed. This goes beyond smash and grab. This goes to people walking to their car and having their purses stolen. So I allocated $1 million out of my own funding through the district to our local law enforcement partners to provide overtime so that law enforcement was present in areas where people were doing shopping, small businesses, La Crescenta, unincorporated Pasadena, Santa Clarita, Antelope Valley, so that people felt safe. Something that you shouldn't have to expect. I mean, it shouldn't be something that you are in fear of. It should be something that you can expect as a basic right. And so I did, and I would do it again. Yeah, I mean, I do believe that people watching today are as frustrated as I feel at the fact that this community that we live in is really in question in terms of safety. And safety is a basic right and something that I will continue to be a champion for. I make no apologies for supporting law enforcement. I recognize that there are problems within law enforcement, but there are problems within law, within politics, within accounting. But you don't condemn the entire industry based on a few bad. What you do is you hold those accountable to make sure that the standards are upheld for those that have taken their oath.
Thank you very much. So there are many homelessness issues around the area. We can see, especially after pandemic, and we can see more. But also, in the 5th district, I mean, it's maybe less or more than other area, but maybe because of your effort work. So thank you for that. As we know, there's a link between youth foster youth and homelessness. So like I care my kid, you care, everyone cares their kids. So and also the like a mental health trauma. These are all linked issues. So what is your perspective on the particular challenge on this one? Because that's like a huge issue in the community.
Such a good question. And as you pointed out, it's very complex. Housing is not going to get us out of the crisis on our streets with those that are unhoused, those that are homeless. Housing is one piece of it. But mental health and substance abuse need to be addressed as well. When you walk on the street and you see individuals that are acting out, mental health is ground zero for what is going on. So I have been championing and pushing expansion of mental health services. Mental health meaning not only hospitalization but aftercare as well. Because if you don't have aftercare, they're just going to end up back on the street. For our foster youth, by no fault of their own, are they in our system? They're in our system because they were abused. It's important for us to provide them with a strong foundation so that they can thrive once they age out of the system, which means providing them with housing and an opportunity to continue their education if they choose. You know, I'm fortunate in that when I graduated from high school and turned 18, I still had a home to go home to. Many of these foster youth don't. So a priority that I have and continue to champion is providing housing for what we call transitional aged youth. They call it TAY. And those are young people that are aging out of our system, but still need the support to get them through whether it be job training or education. And if you provide that, then they will not end up on the streets. Something that I think anyone would agree is the right thing to do.
I see. So, like we know the cigarettes is already banned, like flavored cigarettes, and also for a lot of kids, it's easy for them to get the drugs. Actually, so I see that a tragic news. So, what do you think about that? Do you have any experience of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the hardest part for me is watching the laws change when it comes to illegal drug use. And I do see a correlation between the increase of those on our streets that are using and falling into disrepair and actually in despair with the fact that we've decriminalized drug use. Add to that the fentanyl. And I always say this is a poisoning, not drug addiction. Many of these kids that are taking it and ending up dying are experimenting. They're not those that would be that you'd want to put in drug treatment. They are young people that think they're invincible. And all it takes is one pill to poison you and kill you. But clearly we need to address what's going on in our streets. And I do believe that using drugs, nothing good comes from it. You reach rock bottom, and then obviously what we're seeing is what we're seeing on the streets.
Okay. Last segments, we talk about the public safety and homelessness and foster youth. This part I will ask you. So what is your point of view on economic development? After pandemic, like everyone is caring about their business, caring about their pocket money, of course, is their family living income source. So why economic development in the region is your priority?
So during COVID, I was chair of the board, and small businesses disproportionately were impacted by COVID and the fact that many of them weren't sure they were going to be able to reopen once they were allowed to reopen their stores. So I have pushed hard to invest our federal dollars that we got in helping small businesses because they are the economic engine of not only Los Angeles County but the state of California. So it's important for us to support economic development because that really is the grease on the wheels of government. It's been a challenge because with every step we take forward to provide economic resources, inflation is impacted, the cost of doing business. We had legislation come from the state that increased minimum wage, not taking into consideration that many of these are mom and pop businesses that are barely able to make it ends meet, make it by during these economic times, these hardships. So I continue to recognize that we need to have a living wage that will support people that want to live independently, but we also need to be sensitive to the businesses and the impact that it has on them and make them a partner, something that's never done. When I was chair, I brought in businesses to help us reopen, because while the health department, public health knew COVID, they don't understand how to run a business. So I felt it was important for them to have a seat at the table. Oftentimes, government will create legislation and laws without bringing the stakeholders to the table to find out what the consequences are going to be and ask them for their input. Because at the end of the day, businesses want the community to thrive as well. And they want to make sure that their community thrives. So it's important to allow them to have a voice, something that is too often not done.
Okay, what do you do to support them and for allocating all the resources from the community, what they can seek for help?
So again, what I have done is we've set aside money and allowed small businesses to apply. In my district, I'm proud to say, the most applications came in, recognizing that small businesses needed that help, needed that hand, not a handout, a hand up. Because many of these businesses don't want just a handout. They want to be able to become self-sufficient. But it's important to provide them with the seed so that they can grow. And I've done that, and I will continue to do that. I will continue to be the voice for small businesses, for economic, across the board, also large. Up in the Antelope Valley with aerospace, we are working to get federal contracts so that these well-paying jobs can continue to thrive in areas where the housing is still affordable. And I want to make sure that there's jobs to support the affordable housing.
I see. So do you support the minimum wage to be increased, or?
I think the minimum wage should be increased in a way that reflects the economic realities of businesses. I find it hard that in some industries we're paying more for people that work in an industry that, quite frankly, when I was growing up was a summer job, and we pay individuals who have a degree in mental health less than we're paying many of these workers. I think it's important for us to look at this holistically. Again, something that is not done. I support a minimum wage that actually allows for people to pay their bills, but businesses also need to be taken into consideration and what the hardship is going to be on them. What we're seeing now in fast food is that they're increasing the price of goods. And that's a problem. But then if people are willing to spend the money on that, then I guess it's going to work, and it remains to be seen.
Okay, we see on your Facebook, on your social media, you always posted a lot of information to the all the residents. So what kind of information recently is helping for the small business?
Grants. We provide grants, and we will continue ongoing to provide grants for businesses that may need help. It's really up to the businesses to educate us in terms of what their other needs are. But I've been fortunate that I have cities that are very engaged. I work very closely with my 20 cities and the city councils to respond to what the needs are. Looking at just the overall economic outlook, it's important for us to keep the economy strong so that businesses, in fact, can continue to strive.
So you encourage us, especially Chinese community, during the pandemic, we have a lot of small businesses that are like facing bankrupt because of the situation. So the grants right now is, when is the due date?
Well, it's rolling, and we just had the closure of one, and we will be looking to see what money is available, and then we will invest it. I don't call it giving, it's investing in our community. And I know that the Chamber of Commerce, both the LA Chamber, but also the Arcadia, we've got Chamber of Commerce throughout the entire 5th District, play a role in educating us in terms of what the needs are. And we will be collaborating with them. So I would encourage businesses to engage your chamber, because that is a strong voice and is very credible when it comes to putting together proposals for us so that we can, in fact, really help rather than just put a Band-Aid on it.
Okay. Thank you, Supervisor Barger. Thank you for coming here today. We are pleasure to have you today. Thank you for the information you provided us.
It's my honor. Thank you for having me.
感谢今天 Supervisor Barger 给我们提供的这些资讯，他让我们华裔社区获得了更多的资讯，可以去让我们帮助我们在这个社区拿到更多属于自己的权益。